The Lakers were not supposed to be winning these games. I mean, they haven't had LeBron available for the entire season. Luka has already missed a sizable chunk, and even Austin Reaves sat out a game. Yet, somehow, they are still sitting at 6-2, with the second most amount of wins so far this season. But how is all of this happening? And the bigger question, are the Lakers actually legit? Or was this just a really hot start? Because what we've seen over the first few weeks might have revealed something completely new about this team. The night Luka Doncic went down, people immediately started to worry. How would the Lakers survive without Luka or LeBron available? But man, Austin Reaves wasted no time changing that narrative. Going on the road to Sacramento as the team's now #1 option, he delivered one of the most ridiculous performances of his young career. He dropped 51 points, 11 boards, 9 assists, 2 steals on 54% shooting, and shot an absurd 21 of 22 from the free throw stripe. It wasn't just that he put up 51 points. It was how he was able to do it. He orchestrated everything, running pick and rolls, pulling up off the dribble, attacking mismatches, finding cutters, and relentlessly getting himself to the line. He completely tore apart the Kings' defense and carried the Lakers to a win that nobody thought was possible. That one game has flipped the tone for the entire season. What had felt like a stretch where it was going to be some dark days for the Lakers moving forward suddenly became, wait a second, this team might actually be really good. And that was the night that everybody realized this Lakers roster could not only survive without its stars, but potentially still play really good basketball. And just as everybody thought that 51-point masterpiece was going to be a once-off, he went right back out and exploded again, this time against Portland. And even though the Lakers would lose that game, Reaves still poured in 41 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals on 59% shooting. The problem was not him. It was basically everything else. The Lakers turned the ball over 23 times, shot just 26% from 3, and got beat on the glass. But even in that loss, it was another reminder. Reaves wasn't just having a moment. He's putting together a stretch that demands everybody's attention. Still, the questions lingered. Could the Lakers actually win another game without Luka and LeBron? But then came the showdown against Minnesota on national TV. No LeBron, no Luka, Anthony Edwards out for the Timberwolves. A perfect test to see which supporting cast is actually built to compete. And again, Austin Reaves stole the show. He had 28 points, not his most efficient night at just 37% shooting, but he had 16 assists for only 3 turnovers. He completely picked apart one of the better defensive systems in the league, manipulating rotations, finding the open shooters, and controlling the tempo all night long. And even when Minnesota made their late push and even retook the lead, Reaves delivered the dagger, a floating jumper in the lane over Rudy Gobert at the buzzer to seal a big-time win. It was at that moment where Reaves cemented himself as a guy who isn't just a nice secondary or even third option. He's a guy that the Lakers can absolutely trust to run everything if they have to. Reaves was able to keep this team afloat, going 2-1 without LeBron and Luka. And not only was that great, obviously, for their record, but it also makes this team feel a whole lot more dangerous when they're actually fully healthy. Austin Reaves is now averaging 31.1 points per game, along with 5.1 rebounds, 9.3 assists, and 1.4 steals per game on 57% effective field goal shooting, showing just how incredible of a leap he's managed to take this season. But then Luka Doncic came back, and instead of breaking the rhythm that the team had built, somehow everything looked even smoother. I honestly expected Luka to look a bit rusty himself after sitting out for a week, but Luka didn't appear to skip a beat. He dropped 44 points, 12 boards, and 6 assists on 52% shooting, instantly reminding everybody exactly who he is. The game actually put him into the record books, the third most consecutive 40-point games to start a season in NBA history, only behind Wilt Chamberlain, who did it on 2 separate occasions. That is absurd company. Luka is also in the 100th percentile for points per shot attempt, with a number of 136.7 points per 100 possessions, which, without a shadow of a doubt, makes him the most effective scorer in the league right now. Through the first 4 games of the season, Luka is putting up a ridiculous 41.3 points, 11.5 rebounds, 8.3 assists, and 1.3 steals per game on 67% true shooting. He's also getting to the line more than anybody else, ranking first in the NBA for free throw attempts at 9.8 every night, which has been a massive part of his dominance. His improved conditioning has allowed him to play more physically inside, absorbing contact and still finishing, which has made him damn near impossible to stop. But the real story wasn't just about Luka's numbers. It's how balanced the Lakers appear to be around him. Marcus Smart returned and immediately set a defensive tone, diving on the floor, taking charges, barking out switches, and giving the team the kind of energy that can change games at this level. Jackson Hayes has quietly looked like a legitimate rim protector early, flying around defensively and altering shots inside, as it looks like he's taken a bit of a leap compared to last season. And then you've got the newcomer, Jake LaRavia, who's quietly played great every night, hitting open threes, defending multiple positions, keeping the ball in motion, and doing all of the little things that just make an offense work. The most impressive part of all of this, though, was how it didn't appear as if the Lakers needed Luka to carry them. He just plugged into what was already working and elevated it. That's what great teams do. And it's starting to not really feel like a hot lucky streak anymore. The Lakers are finding a formula that actually looks somewhat sustainable. And if that's the case, the rest of the league has got some thinking to do. But the real test for this Lakers supporting cast came against the Blazers, the same team that just beat them. And this time, it was on a second night of a back-to-back. When I saw the news that Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves were both going to sit out, I figured the Lakers were throwing in the towel, counting their losses and conserving energy for the game coming up against San Antonio. But the Lakers clearly did not get that memo, because somehow they won again. DeAndre Ayton, who Portland literally waived this offseason, went off in a revenge game for 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks on an insane 14 of 19 from the field. Rui Hachimura added 28 points on 10 of 15 shooting, giving them that steady mid-range scoring punch he's quietly been perfecting this season. On the year, Hachimura is averaging 16.9 points per game on 45% from 3 and 68% from the floor, which are wildly effective numbers. And then came the surprises. Nick Smith Jr. and Bronny James really stepped up in this game. Nick Smith looked like a completely different player out there, putting up 25 points in just 27 minutes on 67% shooting, drilling 5 of 6 from deep, while also grabbing 2 steals. He looked like a real weapon, not just a fill-in. And this was a game that might have saved his NBA career. But the guy who really stood out to me was Bronny. This was, without a question, his best game in the NBA. He ended the night with 6 assists and 0 turnovers. And these weren't just basic passes. He was making smart, decisive reads, and he looked totally in control with the ball in his hands, which is something we can't often say about him when he checks in. But the craziest part about all of this is how it didn't actually feel that fluky. The Lakers just legitimately looked like the better team, despite not having their 3 best players. I just think that JJ Redick's system is just playing smart basketball, and everybody's on a string, everyone knows what they have to do, and it just looks like everything's coming together. Through the first 8 games of the season, they've dealt with more injuries than anybody else, and yet they're still sitting at 6-2, third in the Western Conference, and genuinely playing great basketball. But the craziest part about all of this is how they haven't even seen LeBron James for a single second yet. They've had some really ugly stretches in these games where the offense stalls, the rebounding dries up, and they get really sloppy with turnovers. But they've still managed to find ways to win. But once LeBron returns and adds his basketball IQ into the mix, I'm really excited to see what this team's able to achieve on the margins, because that's where they've been struggling the most. Right now, the Lakers rank 25th in the NBA in turnovers per game at 17.1, which is just awful. They're also 24th in rebounds a night at 41, and those are the small details that often decide games at this level. But the guy who's built his entire career around dominating both those areas is LeBron James. He's arguably still the team's best playmaker, and when you've got him and Luka Doncic, two of probably the top 5 playmakers in the whole league, it almost doesn't matter who's better. They complement each other perfectly. So, getting LeBron back will almost certainly clean up some of those turnovers, steady the offense, and give them a much wider margin for error. Then, even in year 22, LeBron still averaged nearly 8 rebounds a game last season, so that'll instantly help them in the rebounding game as well. Having LeBron and Luka alternate running the offense is going to be brutal for opponents to deal with. One's cooking while the other rests. Then, they tag back in together to close out the game. And the scariest part about all of this is how those two really started to figure out how to play together towards the back half of last season. But maybe the most surprising development about all of this is how good the Lakers role players have continued to be. Coming into this season, that really was my biggest concern. I just didn't believe in the Lakers' depth. But now, it's kind of looking like a strength. Marcus Smart has completely changed the tone of this team. He's the voice, the defensive leader, and he's starting to look like more of the Boston Celtics version of himself, where he won the Defensive Player of the Year. Sure, his offensive numbers are not great, averaging 9.2 points per game on 50% effective field goal shooting and just 26% from deep. But it's the defensive impact that makes him so good. Beyond his 1.7 steals per game, the Lakers have been flat out dominant with Smart on the floor, a plus 18.7 net rating in the 97th percentile, a 125.3 offensive rating in the 95th percentile, and a defensive rating of 106.6 in the 91st percentile. Those are all incredible numbers, showing you exactly how valuable his presence has been so far. Jackson Hayes is finally starting to look like the player Laker fans thought he could be last season, protecting the rim, making the smart reads, rolling hard, and he even knocked down a three-pointer against Miami. Then, for Jake LaRavia, he really has been the glue guy, defending, cutting, spacing the floor, and making smart passes. On the season, Jake's putting up 12.6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and nearly 2 steals per game on 44% shooting from deep and 67% true shooting, which is insanely effective for a role player. Once this team is fully healthy, they legitimately have a 9 or 10 man rotation. Dalton Connect and Jared Vanderbilt can come in and give you some minutes, but once they're fully healthy, they won't have to play as much, which is probably a good thing for the Lakers. LA have already proven that they can win in a ton of different ways, leaning on the superstars when they're available and leaning on their depth when they're not. Doing all of this while playing with a toughness and a defensive grit that we just didn't see a lot of last season. And that's the thing. This team isn't built around one guy, even when everyone's available. That's what makes them so hard to cover, because what are you going to do when Luka's cooking? And you've got LeBron and Austin Reaves spacing the floor next to him. Who are you going to help off exactly? You can't double team Luka without giving those guys wide open looks, and that's a nightmare for any defense. For all three of them, this might be some of the best opportunities to play one-on-one they've ever had in their careers. And even if isolation isolation ball isn't what most successful teams are constantly looking to run, having that option in big moments is a massive advantage. Because when it's game on the line and you need to go and get a bucket to win, there isn't a defender in the NBA that I feel happy about defending Luka on an island with the game on the line. So once everybody's back and healthy and they can clean up those margins, I believe this Lakers team might go from just a hot start to actually being a real problem in the West. However, as good as this team has been so far, the Lakers still have something to prove. That this isn't just a hot start. And for me, the biggest concern moving forward is absolutely LeBron's injury. He's currently dealing with sciatica, which isn't exactly something you can just shake off. The fact that it's officially listed as a leg injury actually makes it worse, because sciatica is typically a back injury, and that means that the nerve pain has radiated down from his back into his legs. And when that happens, it's usually a sign that it's pretty severe. At 41 years of age, this is not an injury you can just recover from in a couple of weeks. There's a real chance that LeBron's going to have to manage this for the whole season. And if it limits his mobility and athleticism in any way, this could really be the year where he takes a noticeable drop-off. And if that happens, I don't think the Lakers automatically get much better when he comes back. They'll still be good, but I'm just not sure if contending would be very realistic. But if LeBron does somehow beat Father Time again, then there's no reason why the Lakers couldn't stay right in the thick of it in the race for the Western Conference. Because what they've shown so far doesn't appear to be luck. It's resilience, it's bench depth, and it's real team chemistry. And if they can keep that up, Luka continues to play at an MVP level, Austin Reaves looks like an all-star, and LeBron James comes back healthy, then they won't just be a fun team anymore. I think they would be a legit threat. And speaking of teams the NBA wasn't ready for, the Houston Rockets are truly clicking into gear right now. And if you want to see that full breakdown on Houston, then you can go ahead and watch that video right now.